Okay, welcome back. So we did the basic if statement in the last video. Now we obviously want to do more, right? I mean, it's nice to do one thing, but if the condition works, then actually condition is true, then might want to do more, right? So that's where block comes in. Block is nothing but a compound statement, right? It is in almost any programming language you take, you actually have ability to do things in a block. So let us do an example. Let us, because examples are always the way you learn things better. So let us start off with a different file, and maybe I will use this also as a way to, this is again another toy example, but it helps to understand what is how these concepts work, right? Let us think of creating an activity suggester. So what it's going to do is, given something, it will suggest some things for you to do, right? Okay, let us say I want my program to suggest some activities if the weather is good. So let us start with that, right? So simple program, again it will ask the user whether weather is good or not, right? Weather good, and it will take that input. Now is the weather, sorry, my spelling is wrong, good outside, and I'm going to help the user. So answer yes/no. Always remember when you program to try to put yourself in the space of the user of the program, right? This is a universal thing, right? Have an empathy for the actual user of the program and try to make things easy or clear for them. So that's a key lesson. Always remember to do that. Put yourself in the shoes of the user of the program. Okay, so I am trying to make it easy for them. So that is done, hopefully. Then what is the next step? I have to check the response, right? So I am going to use a if whether, oh, see, it's trying to, I got the spelling wrong again, whether, right? Whether good completion. Now what I'm also going to do is, now when I compare things, right, it is better to be able to compare things in a more so users, you cannot, even with this, when I say yes or no, a user could say y capital ES or all small s or y all caps, because the user just, maybe the caps lock is turned on and the user just types y yes, right? Now if I am trying to make it a little, so for that, for handling such cases, I'm actually going to make, so do you know what upper does, right? You remember? You may not remember, hopefully you should remember if you have tried these things. So I'm just going to show you this. So let us say I have a equal to yes, and then if I do a dot upper, it will actually make them all caps, right? Uppercase. So coming back here, so what I'm going to do is, irrespective of, as long as he enters YES, I will be able to do a proper comparison. So I made it upper, which means if you, even if it's, if I had gone and put a is equal to this, and then a dot upper will be the same. If it is this, again a dot upper is the same. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to normalize all these different inputs possible into one thing, so that I can compare more with a lot more conviction, with a lot more lesser chances of error, right? Otherwise people might enter in any of these forms and my program will not execute the way I want it to execute. So I'm doing this upper, and obviously this is a string, so I have to put it in quotes. Of course you can put it in single quotes, double quotes. I keep mixing them up. It's your choice. See here, when I got this if right, automatically the editor intended it, which means it's pushed it by a tab, right? It's gone one inside. and this is kind of important, we'll talk through this very soon. Go out for a cycle ride, okay, and then say done. So print okay bye. So let's go in and execute this quickly. I have to get out of this, and I have to do Python age commuter as a previous program. This is activity suggester. So is the weather good? I'm going to say yes. Go out for a cycle ride and okay bye. If I say no, just okay bye, because conditionally it will print that. If it's that condition is not satisfied, it will not print that particular statement. Now why just one activity? Why not a few more, right? It's a, maybe I should call it activity suggester, but it's okay. It's a reasonable good name, so I'll keep that. And then I'll say after you go for a cycle ride, maybe you go ahead and play cricket with your friends. Now I don't know whether you like to play cricket or not. I'm just using this as an example. You could go play something else too. Maybe Coco, maybe Kabaddi, who knows. Those are kind of becoming pretty interesting now. And then maybe you can go for a walk in the park. Okay, multiple activities. So here now I am actually having 3 statements, a block of statements, right? 3 statements, more than one, so a block, right? And all of them are moved inside, right? See this, there is some, it's called indentation, it's to the inside, right? We'll talk more about this. Now if I do this and if I say yes, go out for a cycle ride, play cricket with your friends, walk in the park, okay bye. If I do no, nothing, it won't suggest anything, right? Great. Now this block, as I said, is something which all languages provide, right? Now in different languages they might use different techniques to create these blocks. In Java it is using curly braces, this kind of braces, right? In other languages it might be a different set of things. In Python this kind of blocks are created using indentation, right? That is what. Now one thing to talk about, so this indentation is nothing but, you actually, if you see here, there is some space, right? How do you create? You just create space, right? This is how, this is space. So Whitespace has some meaning in Python, right? Whitespace is nothing but a blank character. It's used to separate things like identifiers, keywords, right? When you type in this program, I actually, if and whether has a space, right? So you need to create a space, because then only it makes sense. In English also you do this, right? You don't write I like to do this and that and everything. This is not readable, right? This you provide space, right, for readability. And Python, some cases it doesn't ask for this white space in all cases. It will work without white space in some cases too. Let us just create a new file called Whitespace, right? Let's do that. Whitespace.py. Now if you look at this and then maybe it's 200, v equal to n plus rather n1, right? n1 plus n2 2 man, so into 20 into n1 into 10 minus n2. So this, if I go and execute this Whitespace. Obviously here it's not printing anything. Let me print something so that it's visible. Okay, that works. But do you find it easy to read? It's not very readable, right? Now so we obviously want to give it some white space to make it readable. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use a keyboard shortcut, right? I'm on a Mac OS laptop. You could be on a Windows laptop, and there are different shortcuts for different platforms within VS Code itself, right? So if I use Shift Option F, see that? That's cool, right? There is a bunch of space. Now, isn't that much more readable, right? So there's space now, right? It's much more readable now. So if I select all of this and then I Shift Option F, right? So this one worked. Now for you in a Windows laptop, it might be Shift Alt F, right? In Linux, it might be Control Shift I, depending on the laptop which you are in, might change. Another option you can do is, this is the old, this one, you have a way to open up the command palette in your VS Code editor, right? That is done by Command Shift P in Mac. In a Windows or Linux laptop, it is Control Shift P, right? Control Shift and P, press them all together. Now this shows you a bunch of things you can do, bunch of commands you can execute on inside VS Code, right? So I want to format this. This is called formatting. The idea is that you have written some badly unreadable, not clearly formatted code, and you want to format that. You can just do format document. So you see it is giving you the symbol. So the first one is Shift, the second one is an option in the Mac OS, and F. So Shift Option F. If you are in your own laptop, you will find your Windows laptop, you will find that says Shift Alt F, right? And similarly for others. So you can just do this and it will do the same thing, right? It created the spaces and makes it much more readable, right? So in any piece of code you write, always try to use a formatter to format. Now actually what happened in my case in VS Code is that it did not automatically format. When you try to do this format command, it asked me to check whether I can use something to install something to do my formatting, and it actually ended up installing AutoPep 8, right? I have done this, so it's not visible for me. For you, it will actually say, can I run this? You can say go ahead and do an enter. There will be a small command which will come. So if you go to the window, if you open up terminal, there's a terminal which will come here. This is very similar to the terminal which I keep using outside. My preference is to use a terminal separate from the editor. Many people use the terminal inside the editor itself, right? So it's your choice. I prefer going outside. Many people actually just do it here itself. So when you did Shift Alt F or Shift Option F, it will actually go ahead and execute some command here, right? It will actually just showing some my commands because it's trying to get the same. See, whatever I typed in here is showing here also because the underlying shell is the same. So it will install this AutoPep 8, and from that point onwards, you can use this same command to format your code, right? So you will see me using this some time to time, right? So Whitespace is something which is used in all languages. Now Python uses it a bit more. You saw me that when I looked here, there is Whitespace here, right? So Python actually uses this to even make blocks, and we will get into that. But coming back to Whitespace itself, there is an entire Python has a standard way of using Whitespace, and that is covered by a PEP. It's called PEP 8. PEP is nothing. PEP means Python Enhancement Proposal. So I will just open that for you. Open this link. Hold on. Let me open up my browser. I'm using Firefox now. So this is called PEP 8 or Python Style Guide for Python code. Every language wants you to write code in a particular style, right? It's a guideline which provides, and this particular Python enhancement proposal talks about that. It gives you a lot of information. At this point, you may not read all of it, okay, but at some point you might want to come back, because most of it I will cover as we learn these things. Most of the conventions, most of the things you have to follow, and obviously you can use the auto PEP 8 and the formatting command to format a lot of things, but this has got a lot of stuff, so it will be worth reading at some point, because you will understand some of the philosophy of why certain formatting or certain ways of doing things are suggested in Python, and that gives you a better understanding of the language and better understanding of programming in general, right? Development in general. Cool. Now let's get back to blocks. So this is a block, right? So as I said, Python uses indentation for blocks, right? Has jumped. Now, what is a block? And I will surely close this video with a blocks understanding, and then we will pick it up in the next video. I'm repeating myself. Python uses indentation to define a block or a set of related statements. Now, this indentation, which we saw in this code, can be created by a tab like this, or a space, right? This tab is, you have the tab key, right? Just do the tab, and you can do the indentation using that, or you can use just spaces like this, one space at a time, right? Like this. Both of them work. Now, in many editors, what happens is that when you, even in your tab, actually you see here, it actually becomes a space. It doesn't become a tab. This is normal. Normally in settings of editors, you will have this. You don't have to worry about a setting. This is generally the default, so you should be able to work with that. Now, what I'm going to do is, I am going to show you how Python is very finicky about indentation, right? So let me just go to a tab here, indent this, and save this, and then I'm going to execute it and see, right? See, indentation error. It's an unexpected indent. It doesn't expect for this, it doesn't expect it to be inside, it expects into the first line. So Python uses the concept of indentation to understand blocks, right? Oh, if you look at this code, and I'll just use the aid here. So if you look at this code, right, we saw this code's we saw it here, right? So if you look at this, and this is a 2-level block. So this, in this case, you can consider these as one set of lines, then this would be another set of lines, right? So there is an indent here. So this and this, right, this entire thing is one block. This is a big block, right? Its scope is the entire thing, because this is where it starts, and then once you push it in, this is the start of a second block, and that block sort of continues here, and this block has its own sort of boundary, and this third one is a block inside block. So block 3 is inside block 2, and block 2 is inside block 1. right? But they have a boundary of their own, right? So if you look at this code, this outer thing, this one and this are part of the block 1. Block 2 is part of it, but block 2 is not always executed, right? It's only executed if this condition goes true. Otherwise, the entire block is skipped, right? Now, you can have blocks at a different kind of style also, and we'll see this soon, where you can have one indentation block 2 and then it comes back, and therefore now this block 2 is ended here. In the previous case, block 2 sort of spanned outside of block 3 as well, but here block 2 ends here, block 1 continues, and the new block starts, block 3, and then block 1 continues. So this is how Python understands various groups of code, groups of statements or blocks, right? I'm going to show you a few more examples here. Now, this was a problem. I corrected this. Now let us run it. It works, no issues. Obviously, I put use, so it didn't work there. But now I'm going to reduce the indent here. Let us say I'm going to make this like this, right? If you go here, again, unexpected indent. It was not expecting this indent to be like this. It has to be a uniform, right? You can't have different. And if you do this also, let us see, it is expecting an indented block, because after an if, it expects a block to be inside, right? Now I will show you something different. This is good, this works. Now if I run this, this works. If I do an yes, all is great. Now I'm going to do something else. I am removing the indent from this one. If I run this and if I say no, it will still say walk in the park, because now this print is not part of this block 2, it is part of block 1, and therefore it is not governed by the if. Even if the if is false, this will print. So in Python, the indentation has meaning, right? It means that this is a block, and therefore this block is executed only if this condition is true. If you remove the indent, it becomes part of a different block, and then something else happens, right? So keep this in mind. You will have to deal with this in Python, and in my mind, this is a good thing. Some people feel that this is bad. So to me, indentation for blocks is good, because it means my code is always clean, it is always consistent to read, because you will find that there is sort of a visualization, right? So you always see, oh, this is part of one block. You can see this, right? Once you see this code, you can see, oh, this is one piece, this starting one is one block, and there is, oh, this might be a indented because there is probably a if condition here, so that's a different flow. It sort of gives you a sense of flow, right? That's why indentation helps. So it's better for readability, it's clean and consistent, and it will force this, right? If you put 2 here and then 4 here and 6 here, it will not allow you to do this. This is sort of enforced by Python, and to me that means good. It means we make the code of a better standard. But others feel it is bad. They feel that they don't have a choice. They actually want to do it different ways, but this is forcing me to do it in one way. I actually don't think this is a choice I want. I would rather have choices for other things. This is something is much better for me, because this means that anybody who writes Python code will have this kind of standard way of laying the code out, which means it's easy for me to read, right? The other issue which people find with indentation is that some people will indent using tabs, others will use spaces, and therefore that mixes things up. This is easily fixed by a simple editor. Editor will automatically convert a space or a tab into spaces, so that should work. We will stop here with for blocks. Now we have created an if, and we have created an if which can do multiple statements. We looked a little bit at whitespace, how that is important for Python, and especially the indentation, which is used to create blocks in Python, right? That's a good point to stop. We'll continue our journey on conditionals in the next video.